got one person. Hi, Nexus. How are you? DB Mac, what's going on? How are you? Jesse, good. How are you? 3 people. And it only says one person's here. God bless the analytics of YouTube. How was everybody's weekend? Good? I hope everyone is having an enjoyable weekend. Can y'all hear me? Well, thank you, Nexus. I'm glad that you're here with us. So I got a variety. Puma Pete, what's going on, my friend? I've got a variety of experiences tonight. I really went deep to try to find, hey, Marge, MJ, how are you? I went deep to try to find just a smorgasbord of Steph Davis. How are you? Of amazing and terrifying experiences ranging from Dogman, ranging from unexplained cryptids, everything. Black-eyed kids, just paranormal, everything. What's up, Mega? How are you? Troy, what's going on? You guys can hear me, right? Y'all can hear me? Okay, MJ, Glenn. All right. Donna, there's Janie. DC. Troy, how are you tonight? DB Mac said something different than $20 is $20. Ha ha. There's Shari. Hello, Shari. Hi, Nexus. I said hi to you 3 times. How are you? No, you're good. You might not have heard me. That's why I kept asking if you guys could hear me. What's up, S23? How are you? So yeah, I've just a range of experiences. Neck, what's going on, Neck? My good buddy Shackle. Ranging from hospital demon experiences, black-eyed kids, reoccurring wolf creature, just some really good smack. If cryptids and terrifying experiences are your drug of choice, then you came to the right dealer. What's up, Lake? How are you? Peter, how are you doing? I'm doing well. Yes, about 6.5, 7 months ago, Peter. I'm not sure. He usually pops in. There he is. What's up, Caden? There's Joe. How are you, Joe? Taz Blackwell, Colleen, Nicholas Carroll. How are you guys? Brandy Boone. Hello, Sonia. So it finally cooled down in upstate New York. It is 67 out, but the pollen is god awful up here. I've been sneezing all day. Web Surfer, thank you. Appreciate the love, my friend. Always do. Tommy, how are you? Yeah, we got hit. The tornado ripped right through our town. I made a video about it, actually. I made a little short video about it. It was freaking terrifying. absolutely terrifying. I was watching trees fall on my neighbors' houses and stuff. Thankfully, I don't have any trees on my property, and so none of the trees fell on mine. But yeah, it was pretty fucking crazy. Janie, I hope you feel better. Bronchitis ain't nothing to mess with. I hate bronchitis. Tigger was petrified. Tigger was downstairs, and I was trying to get him to come upstairs. So I went down, and I'm like, come on, bud. And he was like, just stuck in one spot. And he's like, Reow. And I'm like, let's go, buddy. He didn't want to come upstairs, which I'm kind of glad he stayed downstairs, because he would have stayed in his like closet area. And if there was a tornado, like if it ripped the side of our house, it would have sucked him out. So I was like, all right, buddy. Yeah, he's got his own little safe spot, but it's definitely not a safe spot. It's it's definitely crazy. Hey Jen, how are you? We are doing well, thank you. So I guess we'll start off with a black-eyed kids experience. Gringo, how are you? How's the healing up? We'll start off with the black-eyed experiences, and we'll keep going. Michael. All right, so this happened in 2009 in Fairfax County. About 4 or 5 years ago, I was walking down a bike path in the back of my house with my stepdaughter when we saw 2 boys leaning against their bicycles up ahead. I didn't really think much about it since, well, it's a bike path, until one of the kids raised his head up and looked me straight in my eyes. That's when fear struck me so hard I stopped dead in my tracks. His eyes were black and hollow, like he did not have a soul. It was like looking at pure evil. At least that's the way I describe it when I recount the incident later that evening to my husband and my other daughter. I immediately led my stepdaughter off the path, cut through someone's yard, and walked out to the street. I don't know what I encountered at the time, but I am now quite sure they were black-eyed children. I don't know what they are, but I know they are dangerous. It was so weird. I thought that my stepdaughter would also be aware of what I perceived to be impending danger, but she was completely oblivious. Even when I led her off the path and onto the street, I somehow knew I had to get out of there, and now, surprisingly, they appeared normal in every other aspect except their eyes, of course, and a vague awareness that they didn't quite fit into the environment. I only saw the eyes of one of them, because the other kid had his back to me. He looked to be around 13 or 14, flannel shirts, jeans, and a swarthy complexion. Now that I've been reading about these experiences, it piques my curiosity, but I would not want to run into one of them again. Hey, Tyler, how are you? 59th, how are you? Dennis. Dave Thompson, what's up, my friend? Hey, Cosmic. Alan Howell, what's going on? There's Monty. Monty's with us. How are you, buddy? Kurt. How are you, Kurt? Truth Quest. Good stuff, 59th. Good stuff. Thank you, Dennis. Appreciate that. So I got a couple different black-eyed kids, but we're going to save those since we started that off. But this one was kind of freaking weird. And like I said at the beginning, I really wanted to just get a lot of different kind of encounters for tonight, just so we'd have just a whole decent night of goodness, of bad encounters. Zilla, how are you? Car Breeden, how are you tonight? Peter, I will later, buddy. Oh, I'm glad Charlie liked that. That's awesome. Ryan Mack, how are you? Is Charlie there with you now? If she is, hi, how are you? Nicola, what's going on? Bobby. All right, really quick, here we go. First, I would like to say this is not my experience, but it happened to a friend of mine whom I'm trying to help find answers. I was recently hospitalized for respiratory, lung, and chest issues. I was given my own room that was private but very isolated, as I now know the ward I was in was specifically isolated for COVID patients. The moment I was submitted, the air in the room felt heavy. I just assumed it was because I was tired and didn't really want to be there. Saturday night, I was waiting for the nurse to put my IV back into my arm as it gave me problems that morning and was removed. At around 10:30 p.m., I was falling asleep when I was suddenly awoken by what I thought was the nurse, or some man who was trying to steal my phone from the table next to me. Upon looking at what was next to me, my room light switched on and I saw this pitch black man looking thing on a crouch position running from my bedside toward the bathroom. An elderly lady had entered my room to use the bathroom, assuming it was her room. After visiting hours Sunday afternoon, everyone left and the atmosphere felt heavy again. I did not mention the black shadow figure as I assumed it was just my imagination. At around 11 p.m., I ended the chat and decided I was going to sleep. With that, I said this weird sensation came over me to just pray for my family and make sure they were safe. I was lying on my stomach with my right hand under my pillow and my leg bent when suddenly I felt as this bat-like creature pinning me to my bed. I could feel its body pressing onto me. I tried to scream and move, and after struggling, I managed to turn myself around. What I saw, I hope I will never see again or experience again in my life. It, the creature, had wings and a face like a bat/gargoyle. I managed to turn, and I saw the thing sprung and disappear. I stayed awake the rest of that night crying, hoping not to see it again. I checked myself out of the hospital the next day. I would like to know what that was and why did it do that to me. So I either thought sleep paralysis or some sort of demonic entity. Steph the contractor, how are you, my buddy? What's going on, Frank? IE Native, how are you? I am well. Thank you for joining us tonight. I always thought Jeepers Creepers was kind of like a soft disclosure for like the Mothman or something, you know, just because I don't know. It's really freaky. Jeepers Creepers always freaked me out real bad. It still does to this day, actually. I think I'd much rather see like a Dogman or a Bigfoot than a Jeepers Creepers creature. That's a tongue twister. Holy shit. Jeepers Creepers creature. Pine Knot, how are you, buddy? Absolutely. Vicky Parker, how are you tonight? Crawlers creep me out too. But crawlers have creeped me out since I saw Chud, so I already knew they were real. The second I saw Chud, I was like, man, these things are fucking living down in the New York City freaking sewers, train tunnels, eating people, eating the homeless, just getting it on. Getting it on for $20, baby. $20 is $20. That was a loud one. That was an echo. And before anyone asks, yes, the cop is down at the end of the road there. Gravity fucking cheeseburger. How are you? Shari, so Chud, you think is smoking up on the fucking homeless people? I'm just joking. I know, getting high off the homeless. I was like, picture is a homeless guy like jam packed in a big bowl, and a crawler's got it, cheeching bong hits off of the fucking homeless. Beretta Mandy, how are you? Lucius. This one's creepy, and I figured this one I wanted to actually I figured this one would actually, we could actually talk a little bit about this after the fact, because I've always had this opinion on something, and I want to see what you guys think of it. So hang on one second. Here we go. My dad passed away recently from a long battle with the Lewy body dementia. For 3 weeks prior to his being admitted to hospice care center, my sister, mom, and I cared for him at home. He was in a hospital bed in the living room where friends and family could visit. He was totally bedridden and started having a lot of agitation and hallucinations, which is to be expected with his diagnosis, but a few of the things he described were kind of frightening and disturbing. He claimed that there was a little girl who kept pecking at him from behind his lift chair. He was visibly frightened and cried and asked me who she was and to tell her to go away. Another incident occurred when he started whispering and pointing over his shoulder and said to me, "Can you see him? That's an angel and he's come for me." The third was the most disturbing and happened to my sister and mother. My dad really became agitated and threatened to hurt my sister and mom and accused them of horrible things, and then said that there were 2 demons standing in the room. There were many others, but these 3 were the most concerning. My dad was afraid to die and hung on for weeks, but passed away at hospice center. All of our immediate family members have experienced paranormal encounters in this house, such as hearing voices, being touched, and feeling like there was something or someone else present. But the house was built by my parents, so there is no other history or previous owners, and it was built on farmland. My question is, was all of this just dementia, or was it much more? Since my sister says she has heard a growling noise at night, and she's insisted we sage the house. My mom has a tendency to buy antique photos and hang them up in the house, which I told her was not a good idea. So here's what I wanted to talk about on this. You've got this gentleman. He's probably a great guy. But now he's at the ends of his life, and he's starting to see demons. He's starting to see, apparitions and such. Is it a hallucination, or is it they are real? Is it like when we are so close to death that we see these things because they are always around us and our eyes are finally open again from when we were a child? But after I read that the first time earlier today, I started to think a little bit. Johnny Ohm, thank you, my friend. I started to think a little bit about the schizophrenic and the people that are diagnosed like just mentally ill, who say they hear voices and say they see things and this and that. Maybe, obviously, there are people that do 100%, people that belong on medication, right? But what if that like 10%, that 10% that don't have anything wrong mentally are actually seeing it, get misdiagnosed and put into like a psych ward? And there they are, trapped in this psych ward, completely fucking normal, like you and I, but are tormented by these evil fucking spirits or these demonic entities or whatever they are seeing, whatever name you want to give them. And but they're trapped and locked into this like ward of hell. How fucking scary would that be? Truth Quest, send me an email. I'll give you the address, buddy. Because I truly think that the schizophrenic and those people, they do need medicine, obviously, but maybe there's like 10%. I got to get rid of this cursor. This cursor is like the freaking cursor was right on my forehead. Maybe there's like 10% of those who are just absolutely normal and led to believe that they are fucking like nuts. That is scary. I do not like that. Bretta, did I get your email? I did. I might not have, because I don't think I responded to it. So I most definitely didn't. You know, Carl, when my dad was, when they had him in palliative care, and we thought we were going to lose him, he started to like, he was literally, his eyes were open at one point, and he was talking about the past, but he wasn't talking to me and my mom. He was talking to someone that wasn't there, obviously, but I don't even think he knew me and my mom were in the room. He was just talking about like crazy shit from the past. Like, I think me and my mom tried to decipher if he was talking about the day they met in 1968 or whatever it was. But it was so weird because we were on one side and he's, he didn't even acknowledge us when we were there. And he's just talking and having this like random conversation, but with someone else that was in the room. He saw a guy, but he also thought at one point that he got kidnapped by a Russian prostitute and Volinsky. Well, he was in the bed at Albany Medical Center. He told my mom and me that he had taken a night trip with Zelensky in a Russian whore. God bless him. Alan Howell, thank you, my friend. Thank you. Captain Ron, how are you? Alan Howell, appreciate you. So I got some long ass experiences as well, too. So this one is pretty cool. I like this one a lot. What's up, Andy? Andy Davis. Dude from Texas. How are you? He was on all sorts of medication. I can't even list the amount of medications he was on. All right. This is pretty creepy. I like this one a lot, actually. When I was about 9 or 10 years old, my uncle told me an experience that has stuck with me ever since. Growing up in Kentucky, I've always heard tales of, Bigfoot or the Pope Lick Goat Man, the usual run of the mill urban legend campfire stuff. But in the case of the story my uncle had told me, it was different from all the other tall tales I had heard before or since. Kentucky is the home of the world's largest cave system, the Mammoth Cave. Since its founding in July 1st of 1944, only about 365 miles have been surveyed by the human eye. It's believed that there is still over 600 miles of passages and caverns yet to be discovered. The national park is stretched over 3 counties, spanning more than 50,000 acres. Edmonson, Hart, and Barron counties. My uncle owned land in Edmonson County since the early 80s. I remember hearing about how when they were out there hunting for deer, they would occasionally come across pits in the ground of various sizes. They were the mouths of the cave entrances. They would usually just toss a barrel or a large tree branch into the hole so no one would stumble across it and become trapped. Besides the wildlife or just getting lost in the woods, there wasn't really much else you had to worry about, according to most people. This took place in the early 90s, about 5 years after my uncle had purchased the land. His closest neighbor, we'll call him Ken, lived about a half a mile down a dirt road that ran parallel to both of their properties. They naturally became good friends over time and on occasion would accompany each other hunting. My uncle lived in Louisville and would visit his property when he had days off or needed to do some upkeep like mowing or restocking the pond. So unlike his neighbor Ken, he spent more than most of the year in Louisville. On this particular weekend, Ken went out hunting for deer. He left his cabin and headed off into the woods, as he had done so 100 times before. He followed a path that he had used plenty of times to a small grouping of trees overlooking a large meadow. According to him, it was a perfect sunny fall day with not many clouds in the sky. He sat in the shadows underneath a low-hanging tree branch, feeling hidden from any would-be prey that might come by. Despite it being an ideal weather for hunting, he didn't see much game. Just a few fawns, a doe, not a big trophy buck he was hoping for. He had been entertaining the idea of just grabbing his gear and heading back to the cabin. But, goddamn, not wanting to go home empty-handed, he just decided to stick around and wait a little longer in hopes that his luck would change. His chest fluttered when he looked across the meadow and saw to the left movement in the tree line opposite of him. He pulled his rifle to his shoulder and looked down the scope. The thick trees and foliage at the edge of the tree line prevented him from getting a good view of the animal in his sights. From what he could tell, it was heading toward the edge of the woods. He had just to be patient. When it stepped out of the shadows of the trees about 50 yards away into the clearing, he knew almost immediately that he was not looking at a deer. He tried to keep his hands from shaking his rifle as he desperately tried to identify exactly what he was looking at. He described its body as that of a panther, but the upper torso, where the shoulders and neck were, sat noticeably higher than its lower back and hind legs. He was looking at a side profile, which he claimed, while in mid-stride, this thing was close to 7 feet in length. He said it was quiet like a cat. It never made a noise when it moved. The front legs, he said, looked more like arms, significantly longer and skinnier than the hind legs. It had brittle, dark brown fur that started from its back of its head and ran down the length of its body like a hyena. He also claimed that the creature's skin looked waxy, almost like a chimpanzee's skin, dark brown, almost black. Its face was long like a dog's, but he said he noticed no ears. He said the corners of its mouth ended by the neck, where the ears should be. The most unsettling detail I can remember of the account, though, was the thing's back legs. He described them as looking frog-like, as in its back legs were tucked up close to the creature's sides. When it walked, the leading leg would reach almost to the front half of its body, and the other leg would stretch way back, flat, as it crawled. He watched it for a couple of minutes, slowly and quietly moving through the long golden grass. A black shadow surrounded by color. He watched it disappear into the tree line directly across the woods he saw it come out of. After a few minutes, he left and headed back to his cabin. Now, I don't know how long it was after this incident occurred that Ken told my uncle about it, but he was reluctant to speak on it. He dubbed it the Kentucky Holler Crawler. Eventually, Ken explained the story in full one night while sitting around a fire with my uncle. Ever since then, Ken refused to go into the woods. He claimed to only hunt from a dirt road running through his property afterward. Both my uncle and Ken have sadly passed away since, but his experience never changed over the years. I even had my uncle retell me the story a few years back, just so I knew it, and I had all the details right. Maybe this was just another tall tale used to scare me and my brother when we were kids camping on my uncle's land. But I know one thing for sure. Ken was an honest man, and his eyes told the truth when he told me that experience. He had his fair share of unexplainable instances as well. I'm sure anybody would after frequenting a cabin in the middle of nowhere, Kentucky for 30 years. The thing that keeps me up at night, though, isn't the thought of a creature. It's the thought of where it had come from. Who's to say this thing didn't crawl up from the caves, spanning hundreds of miles in every direction, hidden from civilization, thriving off an ecosystem? Nothing is impossible when it comes to nature. Nobody really knows for sure what is down there. So I've always thought that these things dwell in caves, and I know the majority of you guys do as well. It's just a really creepy freaking encounter, the way he described it. And there's been plenty of twisted mammoth cave experiences, not just Dogman, but other like crawler like ones too. Rhonda Wolf, how are you? Yeah, that's what, to be low. Catalina, how are you tonight? To be low and stuck into its like hind, and like how he described it moving, like its back legs extended, and it's, ugh. I got cold chills just doing that. Ermic, how are you, bud? Stacy Lockett, how are you tonight? Shelby, thank you for the love. How do I become a member? I joined the Patreon and I am subbed, but couldn't figure out the membership. Janie, I don't know how to have people become a member. Sonic Fox, how are you tonight? I know it does, dude, from Texas. And it's cold, too. I haven't cracked it open yet. I'm waiting for a little bit. I honestly, Shelby, do not know how to become a member. If anyone does, tell Shelby how to become a member, because I don't. I apologize. I think you have to go to my main screen, like the main channel screen, and click on membership, I believe. Other than that, I do not know. William Menendez, how are you? I already said hi to you, buddy. What's going on? G.I. Joe, how are you, my friend? please send me an email. Please send me an email, Shelby. I want to hear those experiences. G. Brooks, how are you? I'm going to put my email in right now. Web Surfer, holy shit. Thank you, buddy. You're the man. Jeff Bob. Okay, Shelby, my email is underneath DB Mac or Daniel and right above you. What's up, Rockin' Steady? Oh, thank you, Exhorter. Thank you so much, Exhorter. I just heard around the old coal mines in Tazewell area are to become solar areas. Make good sense, all the activity. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Sonia, I was wondering if anybody caught that comment. What comment? I didn't catch Aramic's comment. I missed it. Shackleneck, thank you, buddy, for putting my email in. MJ Bates, thank you, dear. Daniel Levinson. I've had one encounter from Shelter Island, and I had the girl on years ago. Donna Harmon, thank you so much. I truly appreciate that. What's up, David Dobbs? How are you? I hope I said your last name right. Candy Phillips. Is it your birthday tonight, Candy? Happy birthday to you. I'm trying to catch everybody and make sure I say hi to everybody. J-Dad, how are you tonight? Hardith, what's going on? Big John Stud's in the house with us. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dude from Texas. Happy birthday to you. I think it's dude from Texas's birthday, is it? Or is it Candy? It is dude from Texas. I was right. I think. Do something. What's going on? Nope, it's dude from Texas's birthday. Yes, I was right. See, everybody? I'm always right. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not. I'm a fucking idiot. No, it's not. It's not Candy's birthday, Gringo. It's dude from Texas's. Rockin' steady. Good job, buddy. I was just on that. Dude from Texas is 59 years old. 1 year till he's 60 and his fucking balls are going to drop real far. They're going to be hanging on the ground, lumping around. You're going to have to pick them up. What's up, Barbie B? How are you? Whiskey Tango eliminated. No, Kathy, please send that to me again. For some reason, I don't. All right, if I don't respond to your email within a day of getting it or a day of sending it to me, resend it, please, because that means I didn't get it. And I don't get them very, all the time for some reason. I don't know why. What's up, Don Combs? Lolo. Thank you for the input, Lolo. Lolo. Yes. I figured he was. People just, they need to have a life, like a hug, a life. I bet you if people got more hugs when they were children, I bet you they'd be nicer, Larry Lindman, what's going on, my friend? How are you? Where's Firehorse? Did I miss Firehorse? How are you? Thank you, Cosmic. I actually had, when I was younger, I'll tell you a quick story about my tattoos. When I was younger, I got a tattoo gun with my friend, and my dad had built me a half pipe in my backyard because I skateboarded like a ton when I was younger. And me and my friend decided to give each other tattoos when we were real young. So for the longest time, I just walked around with my shitty ass tattoos and wore long sleeve shirts. And now that I'm older, I'm like, I'm just going to get them covered up. So like this werewolf is a cover up. This is a cover up. And then that's a cover up. And then right here, I'm going to get in a raven probably next month. Where is Wilburn? Wilburn! Barbie B, you'll be okay. You'll be okay. Josh Wong. Wong Wei. Vicky Parker, thank you for coming a member. Jimmy Fields, how are you? That's what I got to do, Glenn. I want to get a whole sleeve. Or kind of like one of those patchwork sleeves, kind of. I think the next tattoo after the raven, when I get the raven, though, I want to get Band-Aids right here. What's up, Dan from Phoenix? Golden member, and Dan from Phoenix is here. What's going on, Golden? We are not worthy. We got to do that for. Golden member is now in the house. And $20 is $20. That was a good shofar blow. I blow very well. Thank you very much. I blow like a lot lizard. I'm going up to tomorrow night. It looks like we got a full moon. Or we're coming up on a full moon. And I'm going up. It's supposed to be this temperature tomorrow, too. So I'm going to go where Tommy Mezek disappeared. And I'm going to try to get there right at 7 o'clock so I can be there when darkness starts to settle in. And I can walk that one trail. I want to get as far to the weird tree structures and then I want to get to the boulders on both ends. And I want to get there by 7, and I want to be out of there by like 8:30. So yeah, I'm gonna do the shofar there as well. But I do bring my Caltech with me. Oh yeah, right on, Dan. I've ran down that mountain before. I've run. Sully, what's going on? How are you, bud? To be honest with you, Golden Member, I don't think Tom Mezek, I don't think Mezek was attacked by a Dogman or a Bigfoot. I think what happened to him was much more sinister. Hang on a second. Oh. There we go. I had to do a little adjustment. Gringo, thank you, my friend. I cannot wait to hear Gringo. Gringo is going to be coming on soon on the show. But I think whatever happened to, hey, Don Morris, how are you? Whatever happened to Tom Mezek was much more sinister than a Dogman, than Bigfoot, than a crawler. We talk about these things, and they're fucking evil. Maybe. But there's something out there that is just much more terrifying, I think. And I really think that there is Bigfoot out there. There is Dogman out there. But I really think that they are afraid of whatever else is out there as well. I don't think he was abducted by aliens. I don't really think that it was the case. The woods are too thick for that. I think maybe if he was, it would be out of a portal, to be honest with you, out of a portal. Don, how are you? I said hi too, but I don't know. You probably didn't hear me, dear. Web Surfer, the reason why I don't think it was Dogman. Good night, Robert Sharp. Be good, buddy. I hope you feel better. The reason why I don't think Dogman, Bigfoot, feral people were involved is because if they were involved, there would have been something found. His hat would have been found. His rifle, a article of clothing, something, but they never found anything. They've never found, a fucking graham cracker. You know what I mean? Like, it's just strange. It's so strange. What's up, old hillbilly from Kentucky? You just missed a good Kentucky experience, buddy. Yeah, Dennis, I think so. Kathy, yes. Oh, Rockin' Steady just put it in between Jane and MJ. Kathy Young, Rockin' Steady. Hi, Don Morris. I've said hi to you 3 times now. Hi, how are you? I want to apologize first ahead of time for formatting and grammar. I'm on my phone and it's 2 a.m. I finally have the courage to share this. Ever since I was young, I had seen a large black wolf with red eyes. My first encounter I had was when I was 12. I was walking home from school in mid-afternoon and was mostly zoned out. I used to bring my portable CD player to and from school to listen to CDs on my hour-long trek back home, so I didn't notice it at first. I had to trek through a large suburban area in order to get to my house on the far side of it from school. But as I was walking, I start to feel uneasy. I began to look around and I spot this wolf-like creature who stood as tall as I was at the time, and I was 5 foot roughly. And only reason this was so ingrained into me is because I remember looking eye to eye with this creature. I was coming up the hill, and about a block down on the corner of the road, there it was, standing there staring at me. My grandfather was a canine handler, so I have been raised with dogs my entire life. I immediately went into play it safe mode, like I would with a large, unfamiliar dog, and averted my eyes because I didn't want to let it think that I was challenging it. My turn was thankfully to my left, and this wolf-like creature was out to my right. So I steadied my pace, reminding myself not to run. Running triggers that hunting instinct. And while I was still trying to wrap my head around the absolute massiveness of this creature, I did my best to keep my eyes downward. But at this point, I was turning onto my cul-de-sac to keep it in view. I kept the paws or slash hands in my sight as I cut across the road toward my house. That's when it disappeared. I looked back knowing I shouldn't take my eyes off this creature, but it wasn't there. I kind of cursed myself mentally at the time. I think I still in shock from the size that I hadn't processed that it was just this massive wolf creature in broad daylight. I remember crying to myself as I hurried into the house, closed and locked the door behind me. I lived in that house for years after and would frequently see the creature sitting in my backyard or in the field behind my 6-foot privacy fence, running in an unkept space or staring directly up at my second floor window. Then I moved from Colorado to Texas. I thought that would be the end of it, but I continued to see it. I was afraid at first of it, but over time grew used to catching the sight of it. Most interactions were just catching him as he was watching me. I never felt threatened, but he was always around. I've had multiple encounters where I wasn't the only one to see him either. I've had exes and my current spouse, then best friend, saw him at 15 on their parents' almost 400-acre property one night when we were having a sleepover. The next morning, we went out to roam the fields and we found a dead cow that had been torn apart, limbs scattered all over the pasture. However, it wasn't supposed to even be there. There was no other cattle there. They were all over a mile away behind 2 or 3 closed fences. I would put more here, but apps on my phone is lagging due to the length. I'm just glad I was able to share this. I have moved back to Colorado last year and have since the move seen him a few times. Thank you for allowing me to share. Hellhound. Hellhound, that's what I think. There are caves, but not really caves like you'd imagine there to be. Good night, Steph. Have a good night, buddy. Be safe. Clint, my dad is home and doing better. Thank you for asking. Thank you. He walks like a mile a day in the driveway still, just getting better and better every day. He's still got a long, long way to go. But thank you for asking, Clint. I appreciate that. Golden member. No, you didn't. What's going on, Boom Squad? How are you? I think I thought I purposely had an experience for Arabic in here. I'll share that next. I thought I had another winged creature in here. Oh, I even have Fae experiences, guys. All right. All right, so we'll split that up like that. All right, here we go, kids. Physiology, Dan, that's kind of, I wouldn't watch a show or a channel like that because more than likely they're not saying this is from my point of view, because nobody knows exactly anything about these except firsthand encounters and theory. Shit. What's up, Steve-O? Steve-O! Deborah, how are you? Yeah, I very detailed. That's kind of, the Wendigo is not created by a virus. Definitely not. My family members live in Hogansburg, which is the Akwesasne Reservation, and the Wendigo is First Nation lore. Algonquin, Mohawk, Huron, and a couple of others, but they were definitely not created by a virus. The guy's talking out his asshole on that completely, 100%. Was it your ex-wife, Bronze Snake? A crawler? And no one knows where they came from either. That's just all speculation. I really hope they say it's speculation, because nobody knows where these things, 100%, nobody knows where a crawler comes from. So I'll start by saying, in a skeptic way, so I am 100% understand people will doubt this, and I'm okay with that. I debated even sharing it. I graduated from a very small town in upstate New York, in a region known as the Thousand Islands. Yes, it's like the dressing. It is invented here. Anyway, we have more than open land or woods than people. We have far more open land or woods than people. If you look across St. Lawrence River, you can see Canada. That's right where my cousin lives. Messina, Malone, that's right where they are in that area. Now that you know where the setting is, when I moved there my junior high year, I quickly learned the summer party spot was Wilson's Bay Beach at Cape Vincent. With that beach came a lady who collected all our beer cans and eventually bought a truck with the money she got from our cans over the years, and the urban legend of what they called the fox monkey. It was an animal that walked like a monkey but looked like a fox, and had been seen and heard at that beach in the surrounding areas. I, as any sane person would be, was extremely skeptical when my loser high school boyfriend, I wasn't smart enough to leave behind yet, told me of this creature. He claimed to have heard weird things out at the beach at night, and there was a homeless man out there for a short while who also said he heard it and saw some weird things out there at night. Fast forward a few years, and I'm in my early 20s driving around with my two best friends, showing some guys we met from out of town the area. This ride led us to the beach at night in the surrounding area. We were all laughing and talking while on the back road driving away from the beach, when all of a sudden we see the infamous glint of the animal's eyes on the side of the road getting ready to cross. If you live in a rural area, you know how I reacted, is to slow down because you probably have at least one dent from a rogue deer in your car. I stopped to let it pass, and something roughly the size of a large dog and mixed with a wolf crossed the road. We didn't even think anything of it until it got to the side of the road and stopped and looked at us, stood up and walked away on its hind legs like a human. None of us said a thing for a minute. And I said, did anyone else see that thing? All four of the other passengers looked shocked and all replied, yeah, what the fuck was it? Me and my two best friends talk about this to this day. We all recall it the same way. We call it the fox monkey because that's the name we heard. And the only way we could semi-accurately refer to it. Still have no idea what it was, but all three of us agree that it's scarier and the most disturbing thing we've ever had happen to our lives. This creature has never threatened us or bothered us in any way. Sounds like the devil monkey to me. Yeah, I hate monkeys too, Shari. Monkeys suck. They scare me. Rihanna, how are you? Sorry I didn't see you earlier. Yeah, hunters of the paranormal. They don't wash their hands. That's why they're sticky. They're always touching their little monkey dink. I'm good. Thank you for asking, Ryan. I'm sorry I didn't say hi to you. Dennis got that one. Little dirty monkeys, little dirt bags. So like I said in the beginning of this, I really wanted to have kind of cover a broad spectrum of everything. So this one's pretty cool. I liked it a lot. My 2.5-year-old son keeps mentioning that he sees a ghost, and it's been almost daily, every night for the last 2 weeks at our new house. My fiance is 26, and so am I. First time this happened was on the first night after moving to our new house in Illinois. We moved only about 10 minutes from our previous house. And no, the house is not old. It was built in 2008. There's been no deaths here either. Also, he never said this at our old place before we moved. I was putting my little man down in his crib for the night, and like I've done every single night for over a year, I said goodnight to all his stuffed toys in his room, then to him, and then I kissed him on his hands. It's something he's had me do for a long time now every night. As I walked to the door to leave the room, I walked outside of his room and turned to look at him with the door open. And I said, good night, I love you, like I do every night. Now, instead of him saying night, night, love you too, like he always does, he was simply lying on his back, pointing to, and I know this is going to sound corny, the corner of his room. He then said very clearly, ghost. I was like, what the fuck? Did I hear that right? So I asked, what did you say, bud? And he replied in the accent of a toddler, ghost in my room. He didn't seem scared or shocked or anything, but how the hell? I was a little weirded out, so I just said, you're okay, bud. Where? He pointed to the corner again and said, ghost. I told him not to worry, to try and get some sleep, and said goodnight to him and told him I loved him again, and he repeated ghost. Then looked at me and said, love you, Dada, and I closed the door. Now, before I go on, I just want to say we have never talked or mentioned anything about ghosts around him. There isn't one situation I can even think of that way we've talked about ghosts in front or around him at all. And even if we did, he's freaking 2.5. Pretty sure he wouldn't even have been inkling of remembering or even understanding what we were talking about. Also, the kid doesn't even know what death is. And I don't think he would just be saying that just to freak us out. Anyway, the next day I asked him if he remembered what he said to me last night around dinner time at his grandparents' house, my soon-to-be in-laws. And he clearly said ghost in bed. LOL. Well, we are all kind of laughing it off because we thought maybe he heard it at daycare during Halloween or something. I mean, we really have no idea where else he could have gotten this from. One night, he did it too. Pretty much every single night we've been there. There is no feeling of bad energy here whatsoever, and nobody in either my fiance's family or I have passed away recently, or mine have passed away recently. Has anyone ever had an experience like this? So, here's my idea on that. Like I said, after reading Danny Van Drimeny's book, Them and Us, how Neanderthal predation created modern human. When he says all human civilizations have been fighting against these creatures or talking about these creatures, the same creatures, all over the world. How, as little kids, do we know about werewolves and Bigfoot even before we've ever seen a movie? You know, it's just something instinctually ingrained in our brains. I think we all know that there are some evil shit out there. Or maybe that whatever this little kid is seeing is that diabolical and just that mean that he said, hey, tell your dad you saw a ghost. Yeah, I mean, little kids they have innocent minds. Like, what do the Fox family? You know, I remember, and I've said it a couple different times, about my experience when I was little. You know, I had never heard of anything in the attic. Those weird eyes that I saw in the closet there. I don't, but all little kids know what monsters are. Monster, like even if they've never seen a fucking movie. And it was weird because I remember seeing Chud when I was like 6 or 7. Whenever it came out, I saw it new. It was on HBO. And I knew that was a monster. I knew that in my brain, I automatically didn't think, oh, it's pretend. I said, wow, that's a real fucking monster. Web surfer, when I caught the crooked neck lady on my SLS cam, I didn't get any bad things after that. So, thank you, AK. The Conjuring house was really twisted. I think my daughter had the worst pushbacks after, with the water that we brought home from the Conjuring house. I think that was the worst than taking that video of the crooked neck lady. And I still, to this day, have never seen a better video capturing that on YouTube or anywhere. Pictures, dodge something. I was laughing. J-Dad, you should have been like, you miss me, bitch. Good show, Adam Condon. Cosmic, the video is on my channel. Yep, it's on my channel. No, I have not. I sent her an email. Yes, I went to the real Conjuring house. I went overnight, just me and my daughter. There's a video of it. Yeah, CJ Kendrick. Yes. The metallic noises. There's the video that I just put up 2 weeks ago or a week ago is a compilation of all of the weird stuff that I caught at Tom Mezek's disappearances. And the metallic noises in that video. I don't know what it is. I think it's a portal opening. Because when I was standing there, I was concerned about what you guys would think. You know, I'm like, guys, this is not wind in a tree. Here's wind from a tree, and here's this metallic noise. It was just really fucking crazy. I don't think anyone came. I think we brought something when we brought the water home, so I buried it. Hunchwick. My email. I'll give you my email right now. Someone will beat me though. I guarantee someone beats me. I fucking type like an old woman. Did I beat anybody? I beat people. All right, I'm right above, underneath 59th and above CJ Kendricks. Sorry. Bear, do you mean like the weird metallic noises that were like the trumpets getting blown and shit? Has anybody ever heard those, like, besides the TV shows? Like, has anybody ever heard them with their own ears? Yeah? Okay. Where, yeah, what state? Oh, yeah, fucking Coca-Cola burp. Ugh. What state is that? Yes, Chad, I do a live stream every Saturday, my friend. Yep. Alberta. Yeah, buddy. I've heard that the trumpet noises are powerfully loud up there. You know what I think that is? I think that's like maybe a giant, maybe a Nephilim, or the deep underground military bases doing something that they shouldn't be doing down there, and we are hearing it. My honest opinion of Tom Mezek, I honestly don't know. For the last 6 years since I've been really deep diving into it and going up there, it's changed from Bigfoot, Dogman, Crawler, Portal, fucking UFO. I think it was something more diabolical than all of those. I think there's things that are out there that we can't even fathom, just my own opinion. I don't think Mothman. No. Dude, I just answered you, bud. It could be Harp. I know that Harp messed around in Virginia for a while last year. Camo Dad, yeah, we do have a lot of fucking space up here. I've only seen a Dogman once. I don't know what it was that I caught on the trails where Tom Mezek disappeared once before. It could have been a Dogman. It could have been a Bigfoot. I don't know. I'm not going to make the assumption that it was a Dogman. Okay, here. This happened in Mount Sterling, North Carolina. So truthfully, I really don't know how to go about this experience without sounding like an absolute loon. But I think there is something not human I encountered with my boyfriend on Mount Sterling. I want to preface this experience by saying we have tried every logical explanation possible. We've looked up every indigenous animal to the area and every kind of call they would make in any situation to compare the sound to. And so far, nothing remotely close resembles to what we heard. So anyway, my boyfriend and I decided to go hiking and camping per usual. Nothing was out of the ordinary except for the fact that we had so many delays, which I now think was the universe trying to prevent us from coming to this trail because it seems like it all led up to this very moment. Well, instance one, we drive up the road to the trailhead and we find someone's dog, which the whole Aramic, thank you so much. Thank you, Aramic. I truly appreciate that. Which the whole encounter was good. It was some guy's dog that lived nearby. But we got off track with time trying to make sure we got the dog to where it belonged to. We go to the swimming hole. It was all normal and okay. But here's where things start getting chaotic and odd, slowly but surely. We went to the nearest populated area and grabbed some chicken sandwiches from this food truck, and it took forever, which got us off track with time again. They were pretty weird and icky tasting. Well, then we try to get back on the trailhead, and his GPS starts going crazy, and it ends up taking us 16 miles out of the way from where we're even supposed to go, which made us even more behind on time. And the reason we were in a hurry was because we wanted to get to camp on the top of the mountain before sundown, which was 8:50. Anyway, so we finally get onto the road, and that gets to the trailhead, and the energy in the forest is now just dark and off. It was like the woods were dark at 6 p.m., but the skies were blue. It was just really weird and eerie. Well, as soon as we got to the trailhead, my boyfriend's stomach is hurting so bad, he's hunched over and not even sure if he can get on the trail because he's in so much pain. I'm feeling weird too. Well, we get to the trail and it's 2.8 miles, so we're in a hurry to get to the top. I don't know what the hell was going on, but literally, he and I are both like getting our asses kicked by this trail, which I want to add, we are avid hikers. And it should have been a cakewalk compared to what we normally do. But we are both literally sick. Like, I've nearly thrown up so many times, and this is not normal. We couldn't even walk straight on the trail. We were so dizzy and disoriented. Mind you, it is not hot up there at all. It was fairly cool outside. Well, shockingly, we made it up despite feeling like our bodies were shutting down. And we even contemplated going back to the car a few times on the way up, which I really wish we would have done after this evening. Well, then, there were no campsites or anything available, and we are going to have to go back to the car, but this nice family let us set up camp by them. It was a mom, granny, dad, and a little girl, and they had camped in a green tent. Take note of that. And then nightfall comes, and we went up to smoke a joint by the fire tower. That was up there, built in 1933, by the way. Well, we are on the first flight of stairs, and I look above us to the next flight, and I swear to God, I saw legs and feet, like someone was standing there, which threw me off because I thought we were alone. So I shined my flashlight to make sure we weren't in any way in way of another hiker trying to go down, and nothing was there. And I was a little alarmed, but quickly blamed it on my bad vision at night, even though it felt weird and off to me. This is where it gets now terrifying. If you don't think it could get worse, it did. We go down off the fire tower. We hang my boyfriend's food bag on a bear cable, which is just up high so the bears can't get our food. Anyway, we are walking back to our camp, and we shine our lights around, and out of nowhere, something screams the most god-awful bloody murder screech. It sounded like a woman, but not like a human at the same time. And I stopped and said, WTF, and it screams again. I decided to shine my flashlight in the direction, and I couldn't tell if I was shaking too hard or if there was something ravenously shaking next to the family in the green tent. My boyfriend yelled at me to come on, so I ran after him, and we got in our tent and hid with our gun. And it was literally right next to the family's tent, whatever it was, but nothing ever ran away or anything. We never heard footsteps of any sort, which, if it was an animal, you'd think we'd hear it run away. And I know in the Smokies there are reports of feral human, but it still felt like we would have heard someone walk away. The family we were camping with was freaking out and asked us if we were okay. They tossed and turned and stayed up all night, talking about this thing that screamed right outside of their tent. Once morning came, we hoped they would still be there so we could chat about it, but they left as soon as it got light out. My boyfriend has been hiking alone since he was 16 years old, and he said he's never heard anything like that in the woods. He said even when he did the Benton McKay Trail, and had to hike through this area we camped in, he said back then this place had such an eerie energy to it. He and I both still have no clue what it could have possibly been. We have theories after some research, and we think it could have been 1, a feral human, 2, someone on the trail hurt, 3, it was an animal we are unsure of, 4, an indigenous spirit that haunts the Smokies and targets children, 5, an animal we are just unaware of that exists, and 6, once again, a feral human. Nonetheless, I don't see myself going to Mount Sterling anytime soon. I really like to connect with that family we camped with to get some answers. Thanks. I think where Dennis Martin disappeared is actually really close to Mount Sterling. And that's weird because I've never heard of that Native American spirit that targets children in that area. Yeah, in Spencefield. I did a video last night, Nicola, but I think Spencefield is near where they were. You didn't catch that video last night, I'm guessing. Oh, it does? Okay. Not a Wendigo in the Smokies. Maybe in Creepypasta Land. Joe usually has some one-liners or some good dad jokes usually, but she hasn't popped them in on us. Ermic, thank you for gifting 10 people. You're the best, buddy. Actually, you're all the best. No one's better than anybody. Is it time? $20. It's $20. Sully, thank you so much, my friend. Mr. Rollin, how are you? Sully, thank you for the love, brother. Appreciate you. You guys have blessed me very well tonight. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all. I just sat on my fucking nuts. Oh. I gotta get a donut so I can fucking set these nuts down in. Bloop. I'm gonna start to learn how to play some Kenny G songs on the shofar. You know, little Kenny G with the shofar. That one next. So what do you guys so far? What do you guys honestly think of the picks so far? With like the ghosts, black-eyed kids, the kind of like variety of different encounters. You guys liking it? Christopher, good night. Have a good night, Christopher. I really wanted to do like a different, like a whole variety. Like I wanted to be like the Dunkin' Donuts of YouTube Cryptid Paranormal. Like you want bear crawler, or you want this? You want glazed donut, jelly? All right, so I know that there are some people that like Fae stories. So I got a Fae story. I used to work on a hospital campus at a place where patients receiving treatment stayed. It was like the Ronald McDonald House, but for adults. I usually worked the second shift. There was a little bit of woods around the place and a walking path. After turning down the lights and just having a lamp on at the front desk, the place became very eerie. As long as we check in and out patients and answer the phones, we are allowed to sit and read. Now, I should mention that I've had a few creepy experiences there and consider myself somewhat a sensitive person. On this particular night, I had been reading about Fae and people's encounters. I had also been learning about opening my third eye. Like, I like to read things about that. I'm spiritual, but skeptical too. Well, it was getting close to the end of my shift, and I started getting ready to leave. As I'm walking to the automatic door, no one around, I get the distinct feeling someone was walking behind me. So much so that the hair on the back of my neck stood up. As I got to my car and turned around to see if someone was there, there was no one. I then heard a high-pitched giggle from the bushes. I got goosebumps all over and got the hell out of there. Rihanna, thank you so much. Cool check. Cool check. Good night, Rihanna. Have a good night. Do you, New York neighbors, feel you are an eccentric? Obviously, you are a savant. Good to know. I don't talk to my neighbors. My neighbors are, I know, actually, I mow the little lady, the old lady next door to me. I mow her yard when I mow my yard. So she thinks I'm a nice person. But I don't talk to the people that live next door to me. Except I yelled at their kid for letting their dog piss on my lawn once. No, I don't talk to my neighbors. Fuck them, right? Fuck them. Ugh. I don't live in the city. I live in the Adirondacks. What the Fox family? I don't live in the city at all. I'm 400 miles north of the city. 4,000. I've got another little person story too. A couple of years ago, when I was a child, I've had around a dozen encounters with what I call little people. But I can only remember 3 of them vividly. I call my one garbage man. Okay. What I call little people, but I can only remember 3 of them vividly because most of the encounters were really just me catching glimpses of these little fuckers running towards something, then me running after it, only for it to disappear behind a wall or furniture. If I remember correctly, my first experience was when I was around 9, and I was in my room upstairs drawing something, but decided to go downstairs to get something, and that's when I saw it. A small, dark, humanoid figure, only standing around 2 feet tall. It was humanoid, but not quite human. Its skin was dark gray. Its limbs were very skinny and slightly longer than they should be. And it had a disproportionately large head. It was difficult to make out any other features because it was full on sprinting toward the stairs. But since this was the first time I was witnessing something bizarre, everything seemed to slow down, so it was a running blur of gray. But I was eventually able to make out some of the key features from some of the other experiences. The weirdest part is that I didn't get a bad sense of malice from it, as one would expect to get from something this freaky. So instead of screaming or running away, I ran after it, but disappeared when it got out of view. The 2 other encounters were pretty similar to this, and I noticed that it was always occurred at the top of the stairs. I had a couple of other strange experiences which were less friendly, and one that crossed the line for me. That's an experience for a different time, but to summarize, when I was around 11, something spoke to me when I was home alone. And that was the only time in my life when I actually feared for my life. So I sprinted out of the house and stayed outside until my mom came home. And I wasn't able to sleep for months due to constant noises at night and shit. I'm getting off topic. Thank you for letting me share. Maybe this will be better. Okay. Joshua Irate, how are you? Mab Investigations, how are you? Thank you, Josh. Glad you're here with us. Lion Israel, how are you? Gnomes, nymphos, pixies, and little people. Yeah, nymphos are definitely real. All right. I'm sorry for my English. It is not my native tongue, and I am trembling a little right now. From when I was little, I started to see what seems like a white creature with yellow eyes. I could see this thing when I was at my grandma's house. In my city, when it was night and I was taking a walk, or even in my corridor at home for a few seconds with the corner of my eyes. This thing is tall, and it seems to always be smiling. It appears even in my sleep paralysis, nightmare, lucid dreams, and even what I call peaceful dreams. When I was little, I was staying at my grandma's house every summer. And at the age of 4 to 5, I started seeing things, but not something wow, just little shapes glowing. Then they randomly disappear. And I could hear voices like they were in a place with echo. I didn't give them too much attention. But then he appeared, and it freaked me out. It was night. I know it was past midnight, and I was at my grandma's room watching TV with her. I didn't have a TV in my room. There are 3 houses in the same yard, all others, all ours. The fridge was in another house, so I went to grab some ice cream, but I froze just before I entered the house because I heard something breathe. My dogs were not there. They were with my other grandmother, my mom's mother. I started crying instantly, and I looked to the right side to see what it was. He was just staring at me with a large smile, showing me his teeth and yellow eyes. He was much taller than I was. He didn't harm me. After a few seconds, he just started to walk in the backyard, and I couldn't see him anymore because it was too dark. I forgot about the ice cream and ran inside the house. I told my parents, but they didn't believe me. I told my grandma that night too, and she just stared at me in shock and then told me to go to sleep. After this encounter, I started seeing him, but in real life, not so many times as I see him in my dreams. If someone tell me if someone could tell me what this thing is, or someone encountered him too, please let me know. Then here are the growls. Where my grandmother lives, there are rumors about ghosts, a witch, and something like a big black dog. I mentioned nobody will go out of their houses after midnight because of these. At the age of 13, I was at my grandma's house with my cousin playing Don't Get Angry, Brother, and he had a brilliant idea to go out to the empty street just because he was ready to show me the rumors were fake. Like a stupid little kid I was, and I went with him. We took a walk. We were on the street for a while, but we were also tired, so we decided to go back. And he was just laughing at me because I was scared of those obviously fake rumors that are meant to keep us inside. On our way back, we saw the dog. My cousin thought it was a wolf, but I was shaking because I sensed something bad. And I was thinking, wolves run in packs, right? That's what my teacher told us. Why was this one alone and in the city? We froze when it turned at us. It was so big. His eyes were black. We stood there for a few minutes, but they seemed like hours. This creature was just staring at us, and we were staring back. And I was ready to run if he moved towards us. Then it just vanished. It didn't walk in another direction. It didn't run. It just vanished while it was staring at us. But not like it went invisible, just darker, like he faded away and we couldn't see him anymore. We got back to my grandma's and we told my grandfather and we told him, we got back to my grandma and we told her. Then she told us a story about my granddad. He encountered the dog too, but he was in his car and the dog just appeared out of nowhere and started running after him. but my grandma told us he said the dog was running awkwardly like a human, but on four legs. When Grandpa was near the house, the dog just vanished. My problem here is, after I saw him, I started hearing random growls when there were no dogs near me, even in my house or in my boyfriend's house. I hear 2 or 3 times a year, and if my boyfriend is around, he's hearing them too. Those growls sound like packs of large dogs growling at the same time. I am writing here because I'm looking for information. And just before I got to write this, I heard a growl in my apartment. My parents are sleeping, and I don't think they hear them anyway. But I did, and I am now freaked out. Thank you for letting me share. If anyone knows what this is, please tell me. I really wish it included what country they lived in, because then we could maybe narrow it down. Black dog, black shuck, but obviously their English is bad, so they're not in England. The Cadejo. J-Dad, you're doing fine. You're doing fine. Mago, you like my Mr. Bungle shirt? It just came in the mail today. RJ, I've been researching cryptozoology and the paranormal since I was 17. I'm 47 right now, so 30 years. And I had my encounter when I was 17, a Dogman encounter when I was 17. So that's what got me started. Mr. Bungle is one of the greatest bands ever besides Dead Cross, Phantomas, Melvins. Speaking of live chat, how do you turn live chat on when you're streaming live? It just turns on, Gravity. For me, it does. Aramic, you know who Mike Patton is? From the lead singer of Faith No More. It's one of his side bands. Never heard of Mike Patton? He sang that, "What is it? What is it?" He'll say, "What is it?" His favorite band, my favorite band that he's in, is called Peeping Tom, though. Peeping Tom is fucking great. It was a little creepy, RJ. We were in a car, and Faith No More is a band, Carl. We were in a car, but they were running in the woods around us as well. I don't know. I think my trip to the Conjuring house or my trip to Tom Mezek's area where he disappeared is 10 times creepier than my Dogman encounter. How about a black-eyed kids encounter? Here we go. I was born and raised in the plains of Texas, specifically in an area where black-eyed kid sightings are prevalent. I had heard the stories, tales, legends, whatever you want to call them, since I was a young man, but never truly believed in them. The black-eyed kids were mainly something I entertained as a joke or something to get a raise out of people. This changed in the summer of 2009. It was a warm night in June. I was up late, maybe 2 a.m., as I typically like to stay up late, especially in the summer, since it would be fairly hot even after the sun went down. I just run up to the store to grab a fountain soda. As I was returning to my house through the back door, I was approached by two kids, a boy and a girl. I was very startled once I realized they were there, since I wasn't expecting to encounter anyone in my backyard. The little boy asked, "Could we come in? We need to use your phone. We're lost." This is when I noticed the blackness of their eyes. Both of them had eyes so black they were like pits. AK, thank you so much, my friend. They were like pits. This is also when my heart sank. I couldn't believe I was actually seeing them, that they were there right in front of me. As I mentioned before, I had heard legends of these black-eyed kids all my life. So there was no way I was going to let them in my house. I darted in the back door and locked it as quickly as I could. Once I was inside, I ran upstairs and flipped on the lights to try and see if they were still outside. Thankfully, by then, they were gone. I had so much adrenaline pumping at that point, though, I grabbed a weapon and began searching the house and making sure all the doors and windows were locked. It took me hours to finally get to sleep that night, and it's an encounter that will stay with me for the rest of my life. These entities took the form of something most people view as innocent, weak, and mild, to try and trick unsuspecting people to do God knows what to them. I'm just glad my reflexes kicked in, and I was able to live to tell the tale. New old fan from Big Island. Thank you, AK. Appreciate that. Dude, I don't know. I would fucking throat punch one of them. I'd be like, "Fuck!" And then fucking RKO it like freaking Orton. Yeah, buddy. RKO, baby. I don't know where Buddy is. Let me go see. Buddy. Buddy. Come here, buddy. He'll come. He'll come. Let me shake something. Buddy. Come here. Come here. Come here, buddy. Here he comes. Hey, buddy. Hey. What are you doing? Hi. Hi. Come here. Oh, good boy. Good boy. Want to say hi to everybody? Oh. There he is. There's Buddy. There he is. There's a good boy. Mwah, mwah, huh? Good boy? Huh? Yeah, a good boy. Okay. 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 I love you. Bye. Yeah, I brush him all the time. No Nephilim tonight, Savage. Do little people attack? I don't know. I would step on one, though. I would step the fuck out of a little person. I would be like, "You little motherfucker." Yeah, he's a big boy. He weighs like 41 pounds. I bet you little people smoke cigarettes. I bet you they smoke like a mother effer. No, he's not fat, David Thompson. He's not fat at all. What's the crash course on Tom Messick disappearance? There's a video that I put out at the beginning of this week, RJ. If you find that'll be the crash course, to be honest. I uploaded a reptilian encounter right before the live stream, so I don't have any reptilian encounters in here. I got some other good ones though. What time is it? All right, we got plenty of time. Okay. So this happened to a friend of mine, not me, but back in 2007. She's here next to me recounting her experience, and I am typing it out, sharing it. Sorry, it's long. So here goes. She was walking home from her friend's house at night. This is a town in Southern Oregon, in case that's important. She doesn't remember the exact time, but says it was definitely after midnight and it was dark, so no one else was out. She says she was completely sober and not sleep deprived. So she's on her way home, which is just 2 blocks from her house. She's walking on the sidewalk along the main street, and she was crossing between 5th and 6th Street. Her house was on 7th. Across the street is a Safeway and a cemetery. Right then, she noticed something 50 feet ahead of her crossing the street from the cemetery side to the side she was on. And this is how she described it. There were 2 creatures walking on their hind legs, side by side. One was slightly shorter than the other, but they were both fairly tall, 7 feet. They were hunched over, lanky, extremely skinny. She says her immediate thought was they looked almost like a deer walking on their hind legs, but they didn't have any fur. It was almost like they were a dark grayish skin color. They had their arms and wrists kind of like a T-Rex would, but their arms and hands were very long, almost as long as their legs. When I asked, she said she didn't see any tail. I asked her if they had hooves, and she says she doesn't know. She can't remember that part for certain. Everything was quiet, and she didn't hear them making any sounds on the pavement as they walked. I asked her if they had antlers like a deer does, or deer-like shaped face, me thinking that it may be a hairless deer walking on its hind leg for some reason. She said no antlers, and their heads were not shaped like a deer or any other animal, but not like a human. She describes their face as looking human with human features, but something was slightly off. She had frozen where she was as soon as she saw them. Everything was quiet and there were no cars driving by or anyone else around, which is normal at night in our small town. She says she stood there in kind of a shock. She watched the 2 creatures slowly walk side by side silently from across the street over to the side she was on. She says they didn't seem to see her at all or to take notice of her. They didn't act like she was even there. She says they acted as if they were simply a couple going on a casual night stroll. She doesn't remember feeling any negative energy or vibes. She just felt fear because she was pretty damn scared. As soon as they finished crossing the street, they continued straight down 6th Street, and she couldn't see them after they passed the first house. At that point, she snapped out of her shock and started running 1 more block towards her home. Once she turned down 6th Street to follow them, walk home. But at that point, she snapped out of the shock. She turned down 6th Street to follow them, but they were completely gone. She doesn't know where they could have gone that fast, considering they were just walking and not walking fast. As soon as she realized they had somehow disappeared out of nowhere, she started running as fast as she could 1 more block to 7th Street, her home. She told her mom and her sister the next day. She says these creatures were like nothing she had ever seen or heard of. The closest thing she can compare them to is the werewolf that Professor Lupin changed into in the Harry Potter movie. Hairless, super lanky, hunched over strangely, except these ones were more human-like heads than faces like a wolf. She's only told her family and a few friends, me being one of them. She also remembers to mention there is no history of mental illness. But whenever I ask her about it, she describes the same exact thing the same exact way. Nothing like this has ever happened to her since or before. Sleep paralysis experience. So I'll begin. This happened when I was a kid. I was around 13 years old when I started to have sleep paralysis. It happened often, like 3 or 4 times a week. And it was always the same. I would lie down on my bed, turn the lights off, and as soon as I started to relax, suddenly I couldn't move. People who have experienced sleep paralysis know how desperately scary it is to lie down, being conscious and unable to move, unable to scream, unable to utter a word, just staring at the ceiling. Then I would feel a strange sense of pressure all around me. Like when you swim and you go deep underwater, you can feel the pressure of the water tight in your head and ears. Or when you are on a plane and suddenly feel the pressure change. The ceiling in front of me would disappear into the darkness, and then the face appeared right in front of me. It was always the same face, a face of a man with red skin and very strange factions. He almost looked Japanese, like a Japanese demon mask, but it had no horns or anything like that. I clearly remember his skin being red, and he spoke to me, but I never understood the words. His voice was guttural and deep and scary. He also laughed. The more scared I was, the more he laughed. This lasted for weeks. My parents were concerned, but attributed it to me watching too much TV. One day, however, as I was having this sleep paralysis at night, it was in the middle of the day, and I was in my room playing on my computer. My mom yelled at me to have lunch. I stood up from my desk, and immediately something threw me to the floor. I felt as if some force just grabbed me and tossed me. And then the chair I was sitting in was thrown almost over me. I remember running to my mom and crying in the state of complete panic. My mom, a Catholic, decided to put the saint's card at the back of my bed in a small cross. Believe it or not, the encounter stopped after that. I still have a weird feeling when I visit my parents and sleep in that room. I continued to have some sleep paralysis episodes after that, but never again did I see that weird, strange red face. I felt weird pressure. So, what do you guys think? I will never forget that face, that voice. To this day, it haunts me. Ooh, Stacy Brooks, that's creepy. That is creepy. The hag, yeah. My sleep paralysis one was, I don't know, it was weird. And I think about it often, actually. I had just gotten home from GMAC. I was working at GMAC at the time, and I was an insurance representative. I was like 28 years old, and I had just come home. Everyone was, no, I was, Abby was, I was 33 years old, excuse me. Abby was asleep, Belle was asleep, and my ex-wife was asleep. And I didn't want to wake them up. So I laid on the couch and skip the ads. And I started to doze off. And I remember the couch, it was a really uncomfortable couch. It was big, but it was really uncomfortable. But for some reason, I dozed off. And in front of the couch was a coffee table. And to this side was the kitchen. And there was a door that was always locked because it was the basement. And the basement was a little taller than a crawl space, but you still had to duck, and it had dirt floor. In front of the coffee table was another room where the kids played. It was their playroom. And then off to the side was my wife and I's room, and our baby was in there at the time, and my oldest daughter, Abigail's room. So I lay down, and I just happened to fall asleep. And as I'm asleep, but I'm awake, I hear the downstairs door open. And I'm like in my head remembering or thinking, why is my ex-wife opening that door? What is she doing? Doesn't she see me here? And I hear something coming up the stairs. And it started to walk around the table. And as it got in front of me, I'm laying here. So it's right here. And I can sense that it's a dog for some reason. I can hear it breathing, and it's right in my face to face, but I can't see. My eyes are closed. And it starts to walk off a little. And I remember trying to yell for my wife. I tried to yell help. I tried to yell her name, and nothing came out. And I lied there for, God, it felt like forever, but it was probably a couple of minutes. And I yelled. I wasn't thinking about yelling. It was almost like help was stuck in my throat. And I, help, like that. And my ex-wife came out, and she's like, what's wrong? And I explained to her what happened. And I looked over at the kitchen, and the basement door was open. And I was like, did you open the door? And she's like, no. And I'm like, this just happened right like seconds ago. And that was my sleep paralysis thing. And I hope I never have it again, because it was fucking creepy. Arabic, thank you so much, bud. Arabic, we are not worthy. We are not worthy. All right, this one's creepy. So me and my husband decided to go to a lookout spot that is known for paranormal activity. It's called Dover Lights. It's known for colored orbs that will fly around in the sky with no particular pattern. They are all different colors, and I have seen them twice. Scientists have come and cannot find any explanation for them, but that's not what this is about. This place is deep in the wooded area and on top of a mountain that you can see for miles when you're at the top where the lookout is. It's about a 45-minute to an hour drive from our home. We left a little after 11 p.m. It was pretty clear night. Well, by the time we reached our destination at the top, a huge storm had come in from nowhere. It was lightning and thundering and raining real hard. It had been my idea to go there, but as soon as my husband turned off the truck, I was struck with fear. I began crying, and I told him I wanted to go. He asked me why, and I just kept telling him, I don't know why, but I want to go and get out of here. So we started driving back down this winding dirt road. About halfway down the mountain, lightning strikes. It was close. I jumped to the floorboard of the truck, and my husband threw on the brakes. I said, what the hell? He said that the lightning nearly hit the truck. I climbed back up into my seat as he began moving again. I spotted something glowing red about 15 feet into the woods. I couldn't pull my eyes away. It was looking at us as well. It was completely black except for its red eyes. It had something similar to pointed bat-like ears and wings that were tucked behind its back, but you could see them over its shoulder, pointing wings. It was about 3.5 feet tall and was in mid-stride when we spotted it. It was the feeling that it brought with it was so scary. I felt heavy. thick darkness, like dark. The whole world was dark black. That's the only way I can explain it. Like nothing I had ever felt before or after. I felt this little poking around my head and realized it was trying to read my thoughts, but couldn't, and was slightly annoyed by that. I don't know how I know that. I just do. My eyes and its eyes were locked. It was only a few seconds, but it seemed like time wasn't moving. As we continued driving past, neither one of us, me or my husband, said anything for a few seconds. Quietly, without looking at my husband, I whispered, "Did you see that?" He looked at me and said, "You saw it too?" I said, "Yes." And then he looked at me and said, "What the F was it?" We are driving fast now, trying to get out of the woods and away from the mountain. I said, "I think it's a demon." My husband doesn't have much belief in things like that, but he said he never wanted to think or talk about it again, that it scared him. I could tell, and he didn't get scared. He didn't know what it was. His words were, "It was nothing good and not from this world." We have talked about it every now and then. We even thought about it later. It was a few seconds after the lightning had almost struck our truck that we had to be somehow connected. It was weird for the lightning. And then the second later, the thing was right there, mid-stride in the woods. I'm a firm believer that it was a demon because the feelings that surrounded it were dark and turned everything dark around it. I just want to know what demon would be. I have looked for years now online and I've never found anything like it. I'm also thinking that those pointed ears with black horns may not have been ears. It didn't have any features on its face, just eyes glowing red, pointed wings folded back and all black. It had 2 legs that it was walking on, 3.5 feet tall. It was intelligent. It saw us and think just like we were. I don't know how I know that. Maybe it told me in a way. It just popped into my head that it was intelligent and smarter than we were. I know all of this because while our eyes were locked, the creature said to me, but not out loud. So anyway, that is my experience with the demon. Ravenous Raven. I'm going kayaking tomorrow, actually. Where'd you go in the Adirondacks? I'm probably going up to Loon Lake for a little bit. Either Loon Lake or I might go up to Saranac. I'm not sure. Liz, how are you? Old Forge, yeah. Sable Chasm and stuff like that. It's beautiful up there. Giant Slayer, what's up? I didn't see you there. How are you? Derek Davies, how are you, buddy? Send her over, Jeremiah Israel. Send her over. Yes, Stacy. What's up, Kimberly? How are you? Not tonight. Not tonight. I'm getting a little tired. No white dog man encounter tonight. Tomorrow, actually. It's already recorded and ready to go. All right. So I'm going to give you a choice between 2 encounters. An invisible forest creature or a black-eyed encounter or black-eyed kid encounter. You pick. You pick between the two, and that'll be the last encounter of the night because I'm exhausted. Forest creature, forest creature, forest creature. Forest creature, one black-eyed, two black-eyed, forest creature, black-eyed. All right, it's the forest creature, kids. Oh, yeah, baby. The fuck was that? All right, we'll stay up a little bit more. I'll do both encounters for you. If there's anything in my house with me right now that made that weird thumping, cross the dowsing rods. Is there anything here right now? Cross the dowsing rods. They're not crossing today. There's nothing here with me. Do you not want to communicate? Dude, that was weird. Tigger is laying right there. These are copper. My dowsing rods are copper, and they came from these came from the Conjuring house, actually. Tigger is right there. Whatever that thump was is down the hall. And no one's in the house tonight. It's just me here alone. Is there anything in the house with me? I know there is. Cross the dowsing rods. Please uncross them. Did you just make that thumping noise? If so, cross the dowsing rods. Yes for cross, no for, or widen them if no. Are you here to communicate with us? What do you want? Are you good? Are you good? Are you angry that I'm sharing experiences with my friends? Please uncross the dowsing rods. Are you standing in front of Tigger? Is that why Tigger is looking up into the ceiling? Tigger is literally looking up in the ceiling, guys. Are you standing in front of Tigger? I'm going to say goodbye. You have no right to be in my house. Uncross the dowsing rods. Uncross the dowsing rods. We are done. Leave my home. Guys, Tigger is literally staring at the ceiling. After the live stream, I'm going to get my SLS camera out later. Come here, buddy. Come here, buddy. Tigger is literally just staring at the fucking... I did say a prayer in my house, or in my head right after. What do you think about the couple from the Conjuring house? Do you think they are real? The couple, the parents? The Perrin family? What do you mean, the parents? I don't know who you mean. Because there's the lady that owns it now is just a singular lady. Oh, they're just like kids that work there. They're kids that work there. The lady that owns it is the older lady with the short hair. She didn't own it when I went there. Corey and his wife owned it initially. The first time Sam and Colby went there. Tigger does some weird shit. Tigger's like, when Tigger gets on my bed, he literally will stare at the cross next to my bed. He stares at the cross and then he lays down right next to it. It's weird. I had a very strange walking trail encounter with an invisible two-legged, very large thing while walking my dog. Some of the trail sections have wooded areas alongside of the walking paths. So most of the trails have woods on one side of the path and the park is on the other. The wooded area is not very large, I guess about 300 feet by a half a mile. So I don't consider it a forest. I just call it the woods. The wooded area of the park has 3 or 4 small creeks, and I think only one of the creeks has some water. Most of the trees are beautiful and normal tall trees. Some of the trees here and there look like they are dead. There is always people and kids going down there to ride their bikes, hang out, or do whatever. One day at around 4 p.m., I took my female dog for her normal walk. We had just gotten off the car and began our walk. We were probably walking on the trail for maybe 5 minutes or so when I start feeling weird after a turn. Not a scared or afraid weird. I just started feeling happy and my little aches and pains disappeared. It was very strange because I remember saying to myself inside of my head, not out loud, wow, I feel good. I feel like a little kid. I feel brand new. It was only about 20 seconds of this young and joyful feeling when all of a sudden, something had let go of the large brush that I was holding on to. The thing sounded like it was intertwined into the brush, like holding and trying to hide. At the same time of the noise in the brush, my female dog turned towards the brush and started going after it. I had her by her leash and she was dragging me almost taking me into the woods. I had to hold her back because I couldn't see what was making the noise. It moved through to another brush area and started stepping heavily with loud thuds. I think it felt like it made it out of the brush. The thing was only 15 feet away from us on the other side of the bushes and sounded like two very large horses were stomping around. I could see the bushes and the grass moving, but I couldn't see anything else making that. We moved back away from the trail a few feet so I could see the clearing on the other side of the bush to try and see this thing. I looked right where the sounds of the steps were coming from and saw nothing. I looked down on the ground and I could see where the 2 feet were stepping on the tall grass. I remember I said to myself in my head, "No way, that's not an invisible monster." After I said that, I heard something I will never forget. This thing started making loud noises like a mammoth would step. Then I said out loud, "That sounds like a mammoth or an elephant from the movies." I recall I could feel the stomps on the ground. My female dog and I are just looking into the woods. I can feel my eardrums shaking badly, and both my eardrums felt like busted speakers. In my head, I said, "It's trying to blow my eardrums." The stomps lasted for 10 to 15 seconds. Then the sound stopped. It was like it turned off a switch. I have no idea if it jumped into something or if it just vanished. It was strange because after all of that, I still felt happy with no worries of fear. Just curious. I really wanted to see it. On the way home, I remember thinking, any other day, I would have been afraid and ran away. I have heard this thing 2 or 3 times in the following days in other sections of woods. I could hear something heavily walking in the leaves just inside the tree line, about 30 feet away in the trees alongside my dog and I. I would hear it and I would stop without turning to it. And it would just take one step or two and then stop. I turned around a few times to see nothing because it was not moving now. I did this a few times to make sure. I would tell myself in my head, if a person stays on the trail, they have no permission to take you. I think one time I heard the footsteps in the woods next to me. I said to myself in my head, I think it wants me to make a mistake and go into the woods after it. After I said that, I will never hear it again. I never heard it again. I am sure it can hear what I'm thinking. Just a few weeks ago, I saw something very strange related to this thing. My dog and I were walking in the same part of the trail, only about 100 feet away from my first encounter where the bushes were. I stopped to look into the woods at this point. I was standing still looking in the trees, how the area was covered in a few inches of light green grass. I was looking kind of down the hill in the woods, go down in and around the creek. I said to myself, it looks beautiful. The trees, the color of the greens, the sunlight, it looked like a postcard. After 2 or 3 seconds, I thought while I was looking down in the woods, I saw this big human-shaped blur moving between the trees about 80 feet away. I saw it for a split second, and it was large, maybe 10 feet tall, large head, large muscular shoulders, I remember. I remember its knee and big muscles above it, the laterals. I could see the thick, shiny hair on its leg. Yes, this thing looked exactly like the Predator from the Predator movie when it was cloaking. It was very weird how my brain was able to capture this image. My memory surprised me. Its shoulders, its head, and the side of its back were reflecting the woods between him and me. It looked like a male, not a female. I was surprised just like him, in my opinion. I think he took off running because he thought I was sensing that he was in the area, but I had no idea he was there. I think he knows my female dog can't pick up on him if he hides a little further away from the trail. I am very curious when we go walking in the woods now. I also tell people where I'm going, and I carry a few extra things with me. I have no idea why this thing got so close to me or what its intentions were. And I also don't know why it ran away from me all those times. Was it there? Was it someone trying to startle me? These occurrences have been very incredible. It has changed the way I walk every day on these trails. I often think, I don't know, but maybe that's why my dog doesn't like to go on these trails anymore. I have no idea what these invisible things are, and I don't want to know. Troy, good night, buddy. Thank you for joining us. This experience takes place during the summer of 1960 in Iowa, Oscola, Iowa, which was a very small farming community. My friend's great-granddad owned a farm out there. He had acres of corn, wheat, potatoes, etc., but corn was his main crop. So he had a huge cornfield. It was around 2 in the morning, and his granddad couldn't sleep. So he went outside to get some fresh air. When outside, he noticed something that looked like a child walking around in the cornfield. So he ran back inside and grabbed his double-barrel shotgun and woke the farmhand for backup. He combed through the cornfield in an attempt to find whatever was running around out there. After a while, they still couldn't find anything. So Bob told the farmhand to go back inside the house, and he'd stay on the porch and watch the cornfield. Then he looked at the gravel road between his yard and the fence that led to the cornfield. And standing on the road was a little girl around 6 years old or so. She was wearing a white dress that made her look like she had just gotten out of church. Bob thought that his mind must have been playing tricks on him. So he tried to lie down on the couch and rest, but also to stay somewhat alert. However, not even a minute after he laid down, he heard a knock on the door. He walked up to the door and slightly cracked the main door and saw the little girl and asked, "May I help you?" The little girl said, "Mister, I'm lost, and I don't know where my parents are. Can I come in the house and use your phone?" Bob felt uneasy and told her he would get her a glass of water and he can call her parents for her if she gave him the number. However, the little girl insisted on being the one that made the call. Bob said, "Young lady, it's 2 in the morning and I don't feel comfortable letting a stranger into my house, little girl or not." The little girl started to get agitated and said, "I'm not leaving until you let me in and use your phone." Startled, Bob told the little girl that he was going to call the police to come pick her up so they could keep her safe and find her parents. He closed the door and went to call the police, and he heard somebody punch the door like a grown man. He walked back and cracked the door open again, but when he looked, he realized that it was the little girl that had punched the door. But when he looked at her this time, she didn't have any eyes. Instead, she had pitch black orbs instead of eyes. And she said in a deep, demonic voice, "Let me in." So Bob grabbed his shotgun and pointed it at the little girl and told her to go away. After this, the little girl looked right into the barrel and then backs up at Bob, smiled smugly at him, and giggled. And then she ran back into the cornfield and disappeared. Okay, really quick. Why do my throat hurts now? Why do the majority of black-eyed kids, okay, some have like hoodies, some look like little thugs, you know what I mean? Like little asshole thugs. But then there's the ones that look like they're from the 50s or they came back from church. Now, is it the ones that look like they came from church and they look like goody-goodies? Are they the most demonic because whatever's inhabiting them may know that that's how we feel? Like, oh, if this guy sees this little girl in a white dress, he's going to immediately invite her in. Yeah, definitely creepier. I don't like him at all. I hate him. I wish he would have just blown the shit out of her. Boom! And she goes flying through the air. That'd be so awesome. Bye, little bitch. You ever seen what's that fucking movie? Snowy River, I think, with Jeremy Renner. Snow River, Snow River. Has anyone ever seen that movie? Snow River? Well, he shoots this guy with a 45-70 and he goes flying through the air. It's a great movie. If you guys have never seen it, it's an amazing movie. You guys got to watch it. Lisa Marie, remember when he's in the Wind River? Thank you, Nicholas. Remember when he's in the fucking snow and there's the shootout and the guy looks over and he fucking boom. Oh, it's so great. I rewatch that all the time. Wind River, it's what it's called. Thank you, Nicholas Carroll. No, not Man from Snowy River. It's Wind River. Great movie. I love that movie. I watched it last night. Oh my God, I love it. All right, guys. With that, my throat hurts like a mother effer now. I had fun tonight. Thank you guys for making my Saturday nights just awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed the kind of smorgasbord of experiences. And next week, we'll have some more. I can't yell out the $20 is $20. My throat is killing me from all the pollen and the sinuses and shit. But guys, thank you once again. I love you all. You guys really make this Saturday special to me. So for a guy who has no friends in reality, in real life, I've got a bunch of them. So thank you. Have a good night, guys.